The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Podcast. It's another edition of The Big Issue. As usual, I'm your regular host, George Agba. And of course, with me here in the studio, our in-house analyst. We have Silas Ezogu and Chibuzo Ukaibe. The big issue of the day is still politics. And it's politics all the way in the countdown to the governorship and state assembly election due to hold this next Saturday. And of course, we are looking at the governorship and state assembly polls within the context of the Flashpoints areas. Well, as the election comes up on Saturday, there are areas that are considered as the flashpoints, areas of concern, areas of concentration, where it is considered to be the climax of all that would have happened in this election. A place that both INEC and some most Nigerians are worried that in the call for free and fair elections, these flashpoint areas could bring up some kind of controversies that will work against the free and fairness of the election. But that is not a prayer, it is just preempting the outcome in these areas and then brace up for them. Well, in this state, we have states like Lagos, Rivers, Adamawa, Kano, Enugu, Ebonyi, Delta, Kaduna, Bauchi, Gombe. There are concerns that the election in the states could bring controversies. And with just about 48 hours to the governorship and state house of assembly election, there are also fears that given the difficult situation surrounding the elections in this state, there might be temptations to try rigging, vote buying. So both the security agencies and the electoral body are actually beaming their searchlights in these particular areas. But Silas, why are these areas considered as flashpoint areas? Let's start with just a few of them, like Lagos. Although we know that Lagos is one state that the Labour Party is giving them this, making the governing APC to develop good spirits. And we also know that in states like Rivers, where Wike has just mounted guard and is waiting for anybody to turn out to be one bloody situation. We are not praying for that.
What you laid out the foundations for this discussion expertly, succinctly as well. Following what happened the collapse of the last election, national assembly election. So, Dr. have raised the stakes in a number of states. The changing of the political map due to the impact of parties like Labour and NNPP has shaken up the traditional parties a bit and put them on certain ground. So those parties are fighting to regain control or to reestablish their control of domains that always had in their grasp. That's where some of these areas are areas of concern, flashpoints. So Lagos, you mentioned, for instance, has always been the political notebook of, let's say, has been the political pocket of Tinubu since 1999. After he ran for governor for 8 years, he has single-handedly decided who became governor of Lagos. Not just governor, anything that's anything in Lagos, the last 1999 to now, has been decided on his palace. So for the first time, the vote went against Tinubu in a is a massive way, and that sent shivers down the spine of the governor that he put there. Remember that Ambode round one did one term, and when he correct with the new Ambode and put someone. Okay, so the showing if Labour Party in Lagos, threatens to end the dominance of Tinubu and his APC in Lagos. That's why Lagos is a major attraction in this election. Now, even ahead of the election, you saw how members who supported Tinubu's party APC went about even traditional harassing, threatening to venture to vote against APC. Not just now, even in 2015 election, we saw how even the Akira of Lagos tried to harass people to vote. This around some other traditionalists, and they're even trying to now put a traditional festival on election day, Oro, where they say, I think the foreigners, those who are not original in Lagos, will not come out. In order to just find a way to those are the extent to which Christians are going to vote because of the stakes. So Lagos is one.
Very
Rivers, you mentioned Lagos Rivers too.
Mm.
Everybody knows the kind of politics make a place and what he did in the last election. Even him admitted that he did something to replace the election when he said publicly that in short, he and his G5 governors, wherever level one, they will make sure that APC came second and vice versa. So, and a lot of reports coming from Rivers show that the election in Lagos was manipulated in favor of APC. That's proven in court. So those two states are there, and Wike is leaving office. He wants to install a successor to protect his legacy and his backyard to make sure that so so it's going to be very tough with the way votes went in Labour. If there was a free and fair election, there could be some backlash votes against Wike for what he did in the election, and that will mean that Wike and his boys will go the extra hall to make sure that things went in their favor again. Like we provide. If you look at the major people in Nigeria today, this day, still the governors, many governors are ready and prepared their tools in place to rig the election by all means. And they mention Rivers as one of them by using talks and this thing, and corrupting NEC officials and trying to tamper with the paper. So these are places because of the high stakes there. The other areas that we're going to mention, like Enugu, where it has been a traditional PDP state since 1999. In the last election, Labour swept the whole state and swept out senators, House of Rep members, and co. Now we're going to state elections. They are afraid that if Labour carries with that momentum, the party in power, PDP, will also lose. So it's a high stakes place, and Enugu being a place where thuggery and cultism had characterized politics in that place. With the Ebano machine, there's a sense in Enugu that people want to do away with the Ebano machine. But the Ebano machine is very, very not just strategic but tenacious and bloody as well. Already, I've had reports of people who have been imported from Aguilera and Co. to come and use violence, thuggery and Co. to scatter election in some parts of the state. Some of them have been arrested already by the military and police. So, Enugu is also a place to watch. Let me hit ground for you because the other states that they will provide
Silas. No, because I think Silas made a very valid point. Because according to that report, they said in these states there are plans to actually compromise to ensure that they get the electoral officers there in these states compromised. Like in Nasarawa yesterday, a group known as concerned stakeholders in the state came out to allege this kind of thing that were in this report. And then we're calling for the removal of the REC. in that state. And of course, you know what happened in Nasarawa? Nasarawa is one state where the governing party had a bloody nose. While in the presidential election, the Labour Party presidential candidate defeated the APC candidate. And then in National Assembly elections, you see parties like SDP defeating the incumbent or defeating the governing APC. These are states where they have the concerns that why these governors are thinking of tinkering with the polls to other win the election by hook or crook. The citizens too are watching with consummate exactitude. Now, if care is not taken, if the trend continues, it might resort to violence. But what I'm thinking on the other side, Chibuzo, is that was the presidential and national assembly election. But don't forget that sometimes the pattern of the election in the presidential and national assembly election sometimes changes based on the outcome of the presidential election. Do you think that all this kind of upset we had in the presidential and national assembly poll will see happen here, where we know that in some states, most of the electorates might be voting towards aligning with the government at the center? I don't think that you might just come to change the voting pattern as what we saw in the presidential and national election.
What you're talking about is the bandwagon effect.
Yes, the bandwagon effect. We got it there.
There are a lot of variables. Elections are, like Mr. Sellers did point out, this is an election perhaps like we have not seen since 1990. The political map has totally been altered, very interesting, coming up with all that. And some people say, okay, what we are seeing now is close to what happened in 79. We are seeing a visit of the 79 map and the voting pattern along certain lines. Whether that will translate to what plays out in the states, like I said, will depend on the number of variables. So don't forget, this is an election where 20 incumbent governors couldn't deliver for their party at the presidential election. Now that also includes those who willfully undermine their party. I'm talking of Rivers and Benue and Oyo. But we're talking about 20 incumbent governors who couldn't deliver for their presidential candidates in this election. Secondly, it's an election where you have 7 incumbent governors failing to get senatorial seats, who were defeated in their senatorial zones. Unlike 2019, where you had about 19 or so governors who won senatorial seats. So you can see that the variables are quite radical this time around. Of course, variables, I mean, the major variable are the people, of course. So normally political science, that's why they call it political science, it's social science, because they're dealing with human beings whose behavior can change per time.
And at the end of the day, the answers you arrive at this kind of science is not static.
It's not. So there's no telling how people are going to be. But one thing is clear. There's I would say, I wouldn't know to the degree, but there's an increase in social consciousness with regards to our electoral processes. People have become much more aware of what is at play. That's one. 2, there is a new set of demography in the electoral bracket. So these variables are things a lot of people are going to look out for. Also, the candidates themselves, how popular are they? That is also going to be another issue. How popular, how well, for instance, if for instance, an incumbent governor, how well has it done to warrant his ability to sell his candidate to the people?
That's another factor. If it's a second term aspiring governor, how well has he performed in office to secure that? Still, how much of religion and ethnicity will play in this? Also, how much of the geopolitics of a state also play in this? Because in some states, what is at play is, oh, it's a turn of my senatorial zone. It is a turn of that senatorial zone. So the variables are quite broad, and so it might be difficult to say, oh, you have a bandwagon effect,
just like
just like that, like in previous election. So it might be difficult to give that kind of sweeping, but and I maybe we'll come to that much later. Let me just chip this in. What is critical at this point is that people have to come out and engage the system on the one hand, and two, for INEC to ensure that they do what is right and ensure that all of the mistakes they made in the presidential election will not repeat. But much more important, I think this is when the security agencies will have to step up their work, because at the national level, it's easier not to have this measure of tension. But when it comes to local elections,
politics,
this is where you have
where you are controlling the state.
exactly. This is where you have a lot of violence and push and pull. So we would expect that the security agencies will pay much more attention and will be on ground to ensure that people don't become overtly violent and undermine the system.
Thank you very much. I think this is where we would have actually made the point, because a whole thing now borders on security, and the security agencies, the extent to which they can go to curb any impending violence. Because Silas, you know why these concerns are there. Let me just give you some of the tips so that you now look at them and tell me how possible or that impossible it could be. For instance, Lagos. Lagos is a state considered as a home state of the president-elect, and with his blatant defeat in Lagos by a Peter Obi that would have been considered a Lilliputian, a political Lilliputian, to Tinubu, to defeat him in Lagos. Everybody said that was an upset that came like a hurricane. You see, in most of the report, they have always referred to Obi as Hurricane B. And you know that, just like they said, once beaten, twice shy, they will do everything in Lagos to ensure that what Labour Party did to APC will not repeat itself. And let's look at Kano. Kano is just completely off the mark, because Kano has a very worthy son in whom they are well placed. That if it was the vote of Kano that would have determined who the next president would have been, Kano would have been the next president. And the incumbent governor was completely overwhelmed, though he fought hard to bring out some votes for his party, the APC. That is why Tinubu was able to get about 500 and something votes. Now the concern is the APC lost to NMP, because with the Kano voters still give Kwankwaso that sympathy vote to allow him, his party, produce the next governor in Kano, and not so Gandhi will allow, especially when it has to do with his own deputy, Gawuna, contesting. Then let's look at Enugu, where Ebonyi was roundly defeated in the senatorial poll. And at the end of the day, that is a state controlled by the PDP. What now happens in this state? Because even though it is a PDP state, Ebonyi was one of the G5 governors. So who are they looking at? Is it the Labour Party? Is it PDP he will struggle to retain as incumbent governor? And there's the APC factor, the Chimaroke, Namani, and the rest. We have Ebonyi, although Ebonyi's case is not that serious, because I think David Umahi is on top of his game. I think he won the senatorial election. But then the Labour Party effect, because of the one and only worthy son of the Southeast, it might become a very difficult situation there, because the incumbent governor and APC governor we still want to try to make sure that we retain that state. What now happens there? Then see Delta. Delta, we have very big wigs like the Deputy Senate President, Omo Agege, Festus Keyamo, and then we have the incumbent governor who is the running mate to the presidential candidate of the PDP. That struggle too will not be as easy as that. And then we'll now come to state like Bauchi, where the PDP governor, Bala Mohammed, though he's a grassroots man, is facing a, a former chief of air staff who at the end of the day will even have the military formations there supporting him as their SY boss, and they say, once a general, always a general. And with the support of his wife, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Bala Mohammed has it very strong to contend there. And when we have this kind of situations, it becomes do or die. And that is where I see Adamawa now. Adamawa will have a female candidate, where even the First Lady, Aisha Buhari, is struggling to see that he's even the country produces one female governor.
Yes.
And an APC candidate. But the incumbent governor is a PDP man. And Atiku wouldn't be defeated at the presidential level, and we expect that they will still defeat him at the governorship election. These are the issues. You see why these states are considered as flashpoints.
Yes.
What happens in these states now? If
that's why it's going to be a very key context, because the issues are high, and those who didn't do too well in the special election will trying to find out where they made mistakes, or where they can plug some loopholes, where they can re-engineer their strategy. But this is strategic game. People can play it in such a way that where it was an advantage to them before they turn it to advantage and snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. That's what these political actors are working on since after the presidential election. Children has always said that every state has its own geopolitics that will come into play, and we expect to have more violence in state because the actors know themselves, they know their capacities, they know their moves too, and soon those who hold powers in those states will do everything to use whatever the they have to control the system and have access to the state power. And that's why it is going to be a do or die affair for many of them. The next state is not a do or die affair, but state there don't think so. Let me tell you something. The government that is leaving office would like to plant a stooge who will protect his land. If I looted the state, they don't go to put somebody that will make sure that it doesn't begin to answer to FCC, with the state apparatus trying to do him in. A governor that is going for second term, I also mentioned that maybe about 10 of them are going for second term. We would like to get a second term, and you use the apparatuses. Those of them who have some of them who have control over the police chief, try to use the police whatever they can. Their dogs, if they have some quasi security outfits like vigilante, they deploy them as well. And all those they are going political patronage, they try to do everything to retain. See, because fortunately, the Nigerian political scene is the most lucrative business in the country. That who can make billions overnight and they get away with it. So that's why the stakes are so high. And unfortunately, again, the police has not been as independent and fair as possible. In the last election, we saw how many policemen stood idly while voters were being molested, deprived of their right to vote, and even attacked. Government Bauchi started for the police, and they didn't lift a finger. We even saw a policeman guarding a known Agoro, Lagos, and that policeman has not been called to question. And you saw him harassing voters and threatening them, and they didn't arrest, and two of them are walking free. So the impartiality, the independence, the fairness, the neutrality of the police is in question here. The professionalism also is in question. If they cannot be neutral and effective in their job, it means that many people who would like to vote according to their conscience will be afraid to go, because if you are not protected, you can lose your life or get injured
Of
for
course.
just trying to exercise your rights. It's the job of the police, the military, whoever is the purpose policing work in election day, to provide a stable ground for those who want to exercise their franchise to vote. Because what I can guarantee you is that the political actors who want to win it at all costs, what they want to bring there is violence, intimidation, suppression, and to chase people away from voting to them. And so they can do what they want to do and win. So if the police cannot provide a stable environment, secure environment for voters to vote, then it means that these people will have their way. So we depend on the police, and also INEC need to compromise. Last time the issue of rivers was one of the major issues against that election is the failure of rivers and failure to pollute directly from doing this. So we want to see that INEC can hold the election those days. The police will provide security for them to hold it, and that the elections are polluted, so that to an extent, what is obtained at the polling unit will become the material decided who won the election. If not, this election will also go back in history as Nigeria going back to the old days where the contest is not free, fair, and credible.
Well, I think we're actually far behind time. That is even why we are going to draw the curtain, because if we begin to look at the situations in this state, overshoot the time and might even leave here by 8 p.m. But whatever the situation is, it is an ongoing process. And of course, tomorrow we'll see between the countdown to the governorship and state assembly polls, and we'll be looking at this Flashpoint area. But just like Chubuzo just said, one thing is sacrosanct. The ball is in the court of the security agencies, who will do everything possible to curb any form of violence, vote buying, rigging of any kind in these Flashpoint states. And of course, for the INEC, I think it is now left for the electoral body to properly put its officials in order, especially the resident electoral officers who are alleged to be working clandestinely with some state governors to rig the election. Well, the idea here is that the international community faulted the presidential and national assembly election held on the 25th of February in a way, and it is expected that the next elections this coming Saturday would have been used to give a different impression about the electoral process in Nigeria. It's an unfolding event, and as time goes on, we'll see how it goes. Thank you for keeping tab with us, and of course, I thank INA's analysts for addressing the big issue. Join us same time tomorrow for another edition of this program. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.